Welcome to the Bentley Systems training course where you are learning how to model steel and concrete buildings in RAM structural system. Over this series of videos, we are showing you how to create a typical multi-story building in the RAM modeler. For this particular video, we are going to focus on modeling the roof plan for the building structure you see on your screen. This will include the process of copying a layout and modeling steel joists. We will now turn our attention back to our sample model. And the first thing we're going to do is select the material and the layout that we'll be working with. Over in the material pull-down list, we'll go ahead and select the steel joists. And from the layout pull-down list, we'll select the roof layout. Now what you're going to notice is that this roof plan is completely empty, does not contain any structural objects or any grid lines. What we're going to do is, since the roof layout for this particular structure is very similar to the steel layout on the floor below, we're going to copy the steel layout up to the roof and then make any necessary changes. Now what's important is if you want to use the copy layout command, you need to copy a layout to a new layout that doesn't contain anything, including any structural objects or grid lines. So the roof fits that criteria, so let's go ahead and copy the steel layout up here. We're going to go to the Layout pull-down menu. We'll select Type, and then we'll select the Copy command. We're going to copy our steel layout, and then we can decide which objects on that layout we wish to copy. I'm going to go ahead and select All Items, and then we'll click OK. And now it's copied everything from the steel layout up to the roof. Now, had I gone a little further in my modeling process and modeled slabs and gravity loads and so forth, all of that information would be copied up as well. Now, before I make any changes to this layout, let's go ahead and take a look at the 3D view of the structure. And now we can see that we have a full 3-story layout. I'm going to return to the modeler by clicking File, Exit. Now that we're up on the roof plan, we're going to take a look at a few of the bays within our structure. And we're going to assume everything between grid lines B and D, all of our infill beams should actually be steel joists and not steel beams at the roof level. So what we're going to do is we want to change them to steel joists. Now we have two different options that we can utilize in order to make that happen. We could either delete the steel beams and then recreate some geometry using the steel joist material properties. Or if the steel beams are exactly where our steel joists should be, then we could just change their material from steel to steel joists. So let's go ahead and show you both of those options. Now I'm going to start with the delete command, and if I want to delete some steel beams, the program is only going to let me work on particular members when I have that particular material selected. So I'm going to come up here and select steel, and I'm going to click on my layout beam icon. Now again, when my layout beam icon is selected, all of my beam modeling tools are going to become available to me. And what I'm going to find is I'm going to find a delete command. So let's go ahead and delete some members. I can do this by single, meaning I'm just going to click on each member that I want to delete. Or if I draw a fence, then basically any beam that lays completely within the fence will be deleted. So let's go ahead and use the single option. And I'll select the members I want to delete. Now, if I'm done with that command, I could just right-click and say Cancel. Now what I want to do is I want to create some bays of framing with some steel joists as infill beams. So I'm going to come up here and select the steel joist material. And my layout beam icon is still on. And then I could either add beams on grid, off grid, and I have that generation tool available too. I'm going to go ahead and say add a generation. Number of equal spaces per beam is set to 4. And we'll go ahead and click add. And then this tool works exactly the same way as it did for when we were modeling steel beams. Now, RAM Structural System can model and analyze steel joists and also steel joist girders. So I could technically change some of these girders to steel joists as well. Now, if I have some steel beams exactly where my steel joist should be, I can also choose to just change their material. So this is how you would do that. You're going to select the material you want. I want steel joists. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find this tool to basically change a material. What that will do is it'll change a material for a selected member to the material I have selected. So let me go ahead and select this. I'm going to use the single option, and any member I click on will now be turned to a steel joist. Now, a few things we should know about steel joists. First of all, the program cannot automatically calculate the self-weight of steel joists. There are a lot of variables there, and there might be some bridging and extra components. So if you do have steel joists, you may want to include an extra allotment for some dead load to account for the weight of the members. Now, steel beams and steel columns, their weight can automatically be considered by the program. In addition to that, when I have a girder, for example, and I have some steel beams framing into it, the program will automatically consider the top flange and the bottom flange of the member to be braced, of the girder, to be braced where that beam is framing in. Now, if I have a steel joist that's intersecting a girder, the program will consider the top flange brace, but not the bottom flange at those locations. Now, at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and save my model. And let me just one more time return to the 3D view so I can see what everything's looking like. So at this point, I'm going to say my major model geometry is complete. I'm going to return back to the RAM modeler. And if I wanted to return to the RAM manager, I can go File, Exit, and I'm back at the RAM manager. Now the program has given me a 3D view of my structure to remind me what this model contains. And what we're also going to start seeing is that for the different design modules and analysis modules within RAM structural system, the indicator lights will be active since now this contains a model. Now at this point in my workflow, I'm ready to complete my model. This might include adding some slabs or decks to my system. It will include adding some loads, some gravity loads to my system, and then any type of properties to my members that need to be considered in the analysis. At this point, this concludes our process for modeling steel and concrete buildings in RAM structural system.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.